A covered litter box or hooded litter box is pretty much any litter box that has a cover or a hood on it. The name is pretty self-explanatory, and they're traditionally made for cats, but a lot of rabbit owners have really taken to liking these because the hood and the cover does a really good job of containing the odor and containing the mess. Especially for people who have rabbits who like to dig in their litter boxes or like to make a big mess with the hay, this is really good at keeping everything contained. However, I actually really don't like these and I don't recommend them, and here's why. Hi everybody, today I'm going to be talking about covered litter boxes and whether or not you can use them for rabbits. So what is a covered litter box? Covered litter boxes honestly aren't even great for cats, and I definitely don't recommend them for rabbits. To be honest, even though they're quite great for us from a human perspective, from the perspective of the rabbits, it's actually really annoying and can often be unsafe. The main issue with covered litter boxes is that they trap and contain a lot of odor. Since there's a cover, like this, there's not really any room for the litter box to completely air out. For those of you that don't know, rabbits have extremely sensitive respiratory systems, and they're a lot more sensitive to smells than people are. So when you're trapping all of their urine and their feces inside a cover with very poor ventilation, this is the only ventilation in the litter box, the smell just accumulates and it's really bad for their respiratory systems. Some people do actually take this front flap off since that's the only way their rabbits use it, and then that offers a little bit more ventilation, but for the most part it's still very, very poor ventilation. Also, these litter boxes can get quite hot. There's not a lot of room for it to be aired out, and especially if you're keeping the flap on it, and if your rabbits live outside or somewhere where it's not very well temperature controlled, they're pretty good at regulating their own body temperatures, at least to an extent, but if you're going to place them inside a plastic box, it's very easy for them to overheat. One thing that people find very attractive about covered litter boxes is the fact that they don't make any mess, but to be honest, making a mess is a rabbit's natural instincts. Just because the litter boxes aren't exhibiting your rabbit or aren't allowing your rabbit to exhibit their natural instincts like digging and foraging doesn't mean that they're not going to have them. This can often make them increasingly frustrated, and this can cause them to have unwanted behaviors like digging at your carpet. Rabbits love foraging through their hay and picking out the best strands first. When you're confining all their hay into a little box like this, there's not really a way for them to exhibit those behaviors, so it's honestly quite sad if you think about it. Another major issue about covered litter boxes that a lot of people think is really good is the fact that they only have one entrance. Rabbits are natural burrowers, and if you've ever seen a rabbit burrow in the wild, there's tons of entrances and exits, and it almost looks like a really complicated maze. They never like going in something with only one entrance or exit, because if they were in a burrow and there was only one entrance and a fox or another predator came, there'd be no way for them to escape and they'd be trapped. They have natural instincts to tell them to avoid places like hooded litter boxes, and I think it's quite cruel when you make the rabbits use them. A lot of rabbits don't find this as stressful as others, but it's a species' natural instinct, so you can't just say that it doesn't bother them. Also, these covered litter boxes, for that reason, don't double as a hide. All rabbit hides should have at least two entrances and exits. Some people say that their rabbits feel more secured with having a covering over the litter box, but in that case, you could actually put your litter box under a proper rabbit hide, and that would be a lot better option. Another thing that could potentially be dangerous about covered litter boxes, especially if they're one of the regular sized cat litter boxes, which oftentimes are too small for cats and even rabbits, is if you have a bonded pair of rabbits, these covered litter boxes could potentially be very dangerous. If you're in a situation where one rabbit gets very territorial over the litter box and there's no way for the second rabbit to escape, that could be a really messy situation. Even though rabbits bond quite strongly to each other and they're with each other 24/7, there is always the odd possibility that one rabbit acts out, and again, when they're confined to a space like this and it's not easy for the one rabbit to get out because the other might be blocking the entrance, that could lead to a fight. Also, this idea that rabbits enjoy covered litter boxes because they have a secure place to hide comes from good intentions, but you're honestly just personifying something that doesn't have these same feelings. Rabbits do enjoy hiding and being hidden, which is why you should provide rabbit hides. You shouldn't force their only access to hay to be a hide like this. Rabbits can be very curious creatures, and they also get 80% of their diet from hay. Rabbits aren't like cats and dogs who eat once or twice a day. Rabbits have to eat continuously in order to keep their system moving because they can't actually throw up. So in order for them to be healthy and alive, they actually have to eat 24/7. Okay, so rabbits have to eat 24/7, and the majority of their diet is hay, and most people only feed hay in the litter box. When you combine all those things, your rabbits are going to be spending a lot of time in this, and it's quite cruel to make their only source of hay be a dark box. That's not nice, and it's not what the rabbits like. Some people do like putting a litter box under their rabbits' hides, but this is a little bit of a different story. Depending on the hide, I think if you have a litter box that just barely fits in a hide and there's no room for the rabbit to move around, that might not be the best, and you should definitely consider changing it. But if you do have a litter box under a larger hide or under like a sofa or something like that, that's great because your rabbit can still see what's going on. But when you have a completely opaque covered litter box like this, they have no enrichment and they're just trapped in a dark box, and they're pretty much choose between eating hay and going to the litter box or actually seeing what's going on. So even though covered litter boxes are far from ideal, they're not the worst thing in the world, and they're not going to kill your rabbits. A lot of people have used covered litter boxes for years and haven't had any issues. If you do use a covered litter box, it's important that you're very diligent about cleaning the litter box regularly. I also think that if you do have a rabbit who likes to dig and forage through their hay, and the reason you're using a covered litter box is to try to stop that behavior, you have to let them exhibit that behavior somewhere else and have an outlet, or else they're just going to be very frustrated. If you do have a bonded pair, again, I would strongly advise against not using a covered litter box, but like I said before, a lot of people have used them and not had issues. Personally, I think just because you've done something for X number of years and haven't had a problem with it, that doesn't warrant it being a product that's actually safe, but I just think it's important to mention. So if you've watched this video and you do use a covered litter box and have changed your mind, what are the alternatives? Well, regular litter boxes work really well. The ones made for rabbits are usually way too small for even guinea pigs, so cat litter boxes work best. Extra large cat litter boxes are even better, especially if you have a bonded pair of rabbits, which I highly recommend. If you don't want to buy a litter box, you can also buy different storage tubs. Honestly, a litter box is just a box, so any type of box will work, as long as it's plastic and easy to clean. If you want to use like a cardboard or paper box, that would get very dirty and stinky. If you do have a rabbit who loves to dig and loves to forage through their hay and throw it all on the floor, honestly, these are rabbits' natural instincts, and there's not a whole lot you can do. When you buy a rabbit, you're pretty much buying the full package, and they are very sweet and cuddly, but they also love to dig and be destructive. So you do have to partially put up with that, but some things you can do to minimize it is to buy a high-sided litter box. This would give you a lot of the advantages of having a covered litter box without actually having the top. If you do use a covered litter box, though, personally, I recommend you get one that's not too high. I've seen one where the sides are extremely high, and then you have the same issue of pretty much only having one entrance, which again, might not be ideal if you have a bonded pair and there's a fight, or just your rabbit doesn't feel the safest using it. A good way to keep all the hay in is to actually use different hay racks. The ones sold at stores are usually not the best for rabbits because they're way too small, but there's a lot of ones that you can make really easily, and there's a lot of custom hay racks you can buy on different places like Etsy that work really well. If you're still not convinced, I'd at least give your rabbit the option to use a non-covered litter box, and I'm sure you'll see for yourself which they prefer. Covered litter boxes, while they're great for humans, the rabbits usually don't love them, and they love having the regular litter boxes because it's a lot more natural. They love that they can just get hay and they don't have to be directly inside the litter box. A lot of times I'll just see my rabbits grab a handful or a mouthful of hay from the litter box and just keep running and eat it in a different spot. But if they're in a covered litter box, that's a lot harder to do. And if you do finally decide that covered litter box might not be the best for you and your rabbit, you don't have to throw it away. A really easy thing you can do is actually just take the cover off, and then you have a regular litter box. This is a great option because it's completely free. Even though regular litter boxes are very affordable, often under $10, nothing beats the price of free. Another thing I do with my covered litter box is I use it kind of as a carrying case. This doesn't replace an actual pet carrier, one that locks, and that's what you need to use if you want to go to the vet or transport them anywhere. But if you do just want something to move them around your house, then I think this works really well. I use it when I want to take them from their cage and bring them to another room of the house or outside for some supervised playtime. If you've watched the video the whole way through and you still really want to use a covered litter box, I'd at least recommend removing the flap because this just offers a little bit more ventilation. Also, I'd highly recommend you try it without the top on and just to see how your rabbit likes it because they might surprise you. Okay, thank you guys for watching. I hope this video taught you about something that not a lot of people seem to know or seem to be talking about. I honestly had no idea about the issues with covered litter boxes, and I actually used mine for a couple of months, and I'm so glad that I researched and found different sources and learned that they weren't the best, so I can provide my rabbits even better care. Thank y'all for watching. Bye!